Dave here. How are you? Today is the 27th of September 2020. I just push this little button there that'll say hello everyone on Instagram. Oh, I noticed that David Attenborough just beat the world record in Guinness Book of Records for how many, going over 1 million subscribers to his gig on Instagram beat Jennifer Aniston's record of 4.5 hours. I've jumped in and I'm going to follow him as well because I think he's got some very important information for all of us regarding saving this planet. I think he's fantastic. He's such a nice guy, terrific voice, very calm all the way through his videos. He's an inspiration. All right, let me see. I hope everyone's had a good week and it's not too cold or too hot where you are. We're in the transition between seasons. We've just gone past the equinox, the spring equinox for us down here in the southern hemisphere and the autumn equinox for you guys in the northern hemisphere. On the show today, now last week I said I was going to show some of Cole Hosey's projects and I got so involved with the tongue drum that I just clearly forgot. And Vicky was saying to me, where's Cole's stuff? While we were watching the show in the evening. All right, so I'm going to throw them up. So Cole, if you're watching, here we go. The first one, this is a beautiful wall cabinet that he's making. And I think he's got some more pictures of it here. Open it up. And of course, it's all going to be dovetail joints all the way through it. And there's the drawers at the bottom as well. That's lovely. And what else we got? Going down closer. So Cole's showing you there that you can use the dovetail joints all the way through. He doesn't have blind dovetails. They are through dovetails. And he puts the drawer front over the top of that. So if you don't want to see the dovetails, you don't have to. And here's another one that he's doing, which is for his parts boxes. G'day Ian, how are you? Look at all the detail that Cole goes into. Now he's using, I don't know if it's Jarrah or if it's Merbo or what on the front. Cole, can you let me know what you're using as the edge timber? And there's all of the parts boxes that he's got from that big green store. I think they're Tic Tac boxes. The ones that I've got are from the joint that I work at Carbotech, but they all do the same kind of thing. So that's bloody marvelous. So Cole, I'm sorry that I didn't throw those up last week, but mate, you are the master. Cole Hosey, the master box maker with the Gifkins dovetail jigs. All right, what have we got on the show? Isn't it nice to share things like that? The tongue drum project, tuning the soundboard. We're going to do that a little bit later on. I'll tell you what, it is a micro, slow process. And you can get it wrong in a heartbeat. And next thing you've got to try and bring it back. So I'm going to go through that a little bit later on in the show. Thicknesser. Is your thickness planer a bit sluggish? I was working on the tongue drum. I was making some parts for it and putting the Jarrah through the thickness planer, this guy here, which we're going to go through a little bit soon. And I was noticing it was really working hard. I was getting a nice clean finish, but it wasn't pulling through well. And I think that's because it's time for me to rotate the blades on it. So that's a bit of a heads up. Rather than waiting for tear out on a thickness planer or on a jointer, just see if you're having to work harder. It might be that the blades need sharpening or rotating. Oh, now TSO products. Now you know that I'm have an affiliation with them, and people were going to their website and going, well, you know, all I'm getting is notify me at the bottom. Now I was talking to them during the week and I asked them about these problems and I see they're all fixed now, which is fantastic. They were saying it was a scheduling problem, not a manufacturing problem, and it's all addressed. So they were having these things where that's all it was. It was scheduling. They didn't get the scheduling correct. They got plenty of product, and so now that the website is running perfectly again. So if you want to take advantage of that, descriptions in the description box down the bottom. Welcome to my new patron, Wayne. Thank you very much for jumping in and supporting me with my other patrons. And we're just letting you know at the end of the show, we do have a Zoom meeting It's for patrons only, and if you go to my Patreon page, you have to be a member, you have to be one of my patrons to get in there. You can join that meeting by clicking on the link that's at the top of the page there. Let me have a quick read down the side here. Michael Jude, morning Dave and all others. Steve, hello everyone. Peter, how you doing? Mr. Parra, nice call from Wayne. BJ, hello. Tad late, watching two screens, UFC prelims, and here now. Thank you for joining the show, everybody, from Peter Lysiak, Josh Stokes. Hello, everyone from Washington State. Is the picture coming through clean? We had issues last week. I think Mike Deam was saying that near the end of the show, it was soft and fuzzy. When I watched the replay, it was really clean right the way through, so I don't know whether it was just pertaining to the situation that Mike had at his place in lockdown, Victoria. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at this thickness planer, so I'm going to jump over there. There's Cole. Cole's there as Gifkin's dovetail. Let's have a look at camera 3. And I've got it set up down here, so first thing you do is make sure this is not plugged in. It might seem like a really obvious thing to say, but we're going to be in there touching the blades. Do not have this thing plugged in. They supply you with an Allen key. I prefer these ones that have got a little ball head on the end because they're easy to get in at an angle. So I shall undo and undo. It has been a bit cold lately. We got a little bit of snow off the Antarctic, I think. Is that going to come off yet? No, not yet. Oh, don't tell me I've got them in down the bottom as well. I do. Sometimes I don't put these bottom ones on, but that's all right. Now this part is extremely boring, but I saw where that went. But the reason I do this part is because some people, when they go to do this stuff, just a smallest detail, if it hasn't been stated, they get stuck and say, oh, what do I do now? Now these are a mushroom head on those ones down the bottom. All the same Allen key. And that will pull off now when I loosen that one just a little. Yep. So that's that out of the way. The video's going well. I just had a snuck. Is snuck a real word? Snuck a quick look at the screen. Take those ones out. Now this is the blade cover that I'm removing. And it's got all the safety things here. Sometimes the safety things are a little bit too obvious and we skip past reading them. But if you've got nothing to do, have a quick read because there might be something in there that you hadn't noticed. Now it's a lift off situation. And you'll see here, there's the exhaust fan. That's the fan that keeps the motor cool. It blows into there and spreads the air out over the top. And that's the chip ejection. Blows it out that way. Let me move that. So we have the cutters. Now I'm not going to take them all out, but I don't know if you can see on the corner there is a dot. Maybe not. If you have a look at the video I did about this, you'll probably see it. Ordinarily, I'd get the compressed air in and blow all of that out. I'm going to take one out. There we go. This is a Torx 20, I think it is, Torx 20 screwdriver that I'm using. And there we go. That's all of it out. Now you can see one side is a little bit dirty and the other side is more dirty. Always a good idea as well to have a look at where the direction of the dots is. Now all the dots are onto the left. So when I put them back, instead of being on the left, I'm going to rotate it so the dot is on the right-hand side. That dot is on the corner of the blades. These only have two edges that are sharp. The other two are blunt. They push back against the head there to give it strength and keep these all in good alignment so you don't have any sitting down lower than the other, as in that they're passing and doing the cutting. All right, so I'm going to go over to the other camera now. We'll have a quick look there. When I get there. So there it is. That's the blade with the torque screw. Swapped yours yesterday, coincidentally. Well, not so much coincidence, Ben. It's when I read your post, I thought maybe that's something that everyone else will be interested in having a look at. Now, what I'm going to do is rather than just rotate them, I'm going to use a bit of spray and clean them. So I've got this little container here. I'm not going to take them all out during the show. I'll take them out after the show. So I'm going to spray a bit of this. This is CMT Orange Tools Formula 2050. That's what I use. So I'm going to spray a little bit in the bottom of this container. And I'm just going to pop the blade in there. Easy. Let's go to Carl Cam. There we go. So he's just sitting in there. And I'll let that soak for a while. All right, back over to here. Is that something that everyone is aware of, that you must do it? You've got to, some people buy a machine and don't realize that they've got to maintain the machine. And part of the maintenance is checking on your blades, making sure they're sharp. Look for the indications that they're not sharp, furry timber as it's coming out instead of clean. Hard to push the timber through the machine, or it's struggling pulling through. With this one, if I didn't work on the machine now, like fix all the blades up and get them clean and rotate them, what would have happened was eventually the roller, the rubber roller, would have delaminated itself from the steel bar that goes through the center. It will work so hard trying to push through that it might totally shear the rubber off. I've seen it happen. So it's very important. General maintenance, it's just, you get your car serviced, look after your machines as well, if you have them. Same with hand tools, keep them sharp. That's what Vic Teslin, whenever he signs a book, or when he finishes a little post, he says, stay sharp, or keep it sharp. I think Jim Davey is saying the same thing, or a similar thing. All right, that's enough on the planer thicknesser. And a lot of people say, why do you call it a thicknesser? It doesn't make anything thicker, it makes it thinner. Well, correct. It's just what we say. It's just what we say. I'm going to put this back over here. This is for the torque screw, and leave all that there so that I don't lose anything. All right, what's the next thing we're going to do? Where's my run sheet? Okay, so there's a gentleman called Jim. Gentleman Jim. That's how I'm going to remember him. He lives near me, and he was in the store the other week, and he said, he was buying some stuff, and he said, I've got some old bowls, lawn bowls, and they're made out of lignum vitae, and I'm going to make, and he made a mallet out of them. And I said, look, just in passing, if you've got any, I might have talked about this last week, if you've got any left over, give me a shout. I'll take one. He gave me a call, not an hour later, and there it is. This is lignum vitae. This is the densest timber in the world. Very rare. This has got, it weighs around about 1.3 metric tons per cubic meter, which means cubic meter of water, remember, this is a little education, a cubic meter of water weighs 1 metric ton. That's how they do it. Everything's around cubic meter or mil of water at a specific height above sea level. And a meter, there's a brass rod or a brass measure that I think they've got over in Italy somewhere, which is a meter long, kept at a certain distance, a certain temperature and length. Obviously, certain length, it's a meter. Anyway, a meter by a meter by a meter is 1 cubic meter, and fill that with water, and that is a metric ton. This will not float in it. It's 1.3 metric tons per cubic meter. So it will go. So what I'm going to do, they're all saying, well, that's fascinating, Dave. Shut up, you idiot. Keep on talking. All right. So what I'm going to do with this, well, that's my plan. I have many great plans. Do you guys have plans that never get acted on? I'm going to attack this with a drill and maybe a saw, and I'm thinking I'm going to make a mallet out of it. Now, that on its own is too heavy for a mallet, for a carving mallet. So I may drill a hole in one end, put something, like a handle in there, and put on the lathe and turn it. Now, it'd be nice to be able to keep LM, because that's obviously the initials of the person who owned it, or the manufacturer of the ball. But it's heavy. I got to tell you, it is heavy. But it's going to be too heavy to swing. So I'm going to, as I say, I cut it and maybe laminate it with some lighter timber and turn something up nice, or just drill a hole in. Now, you have to be aware that in one end, these are biased, so there are weights inside there. How I found that out was I rolled it along the ground in the workshop here and waited for it to roll over. And obviously, this is the tip for you. It landed with that side facing up. That's the large side. The other side is the small initials. Big initials facing up. So when the ball is rolled up to the jack and sitting flat, when everyone scoots up with their walking frames, I'm being terrible, aren't I? Lawn bowls has traditionally been a senior citizens game, but I notice there's a lot of young guys get into it as well, and women. So when it's there, it's facing up. It's a nice big text, so the old eyes can see it without having to stoop too far to see it. And the closest to the jack obviously wins. Anyway, so that was a little bit of an interesting thing along the side. Next thing we're going to look at is mallets. Now, last week I used curvature between the two sides. I'm reading down the side here, and you can all read that yourselves. I'm keeping up with everyone. Quick drink. All right, let's move on to the tongue drum. And I did say last week I used this. Now, this is a hard plastic, very sharp sound. And I tried, let me see if I've got one here. I may or may not. I should have got this out. Oh yeah, these will do. I bought some rubber feet, these guys, from the store, and pushed this over. Now I drilled a hole in the other one to release the air, because that's just going to push straight off. So I drilled a hole through the end, and it was okay. I was getting a reasonable sound off the... I'm just reading YouTube, the ball's a piece of history, why not preserve it? You know what? There's probably going to be a heap of them around, maybe not now that I've told people what I'm going to do with it, but I will never use that. It was given to me as a gift to make something from, and that's probably what I'm going to do. So you reckon there's no weights in there? Is that what you're saying, Russell? I use subparticles now, Stephen, for a meter length. That's, what would I know? All right, so harsh noise. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. So I thought I'm going to get some super balls. See these things? Bounce almost as high as from when you drop it. If it came up higher, you would have perpetual motion and you'd be able to harness that energy. Doesn't happen. It will not bounce higher than what gravity is letting it go at, holding it down at. Mike, I'm just quickly reading here, Mike, as a shipwright apprentice in the late 60s, I was gifted a small piece of lignum vitae for our, I didn't see what the rest of it wrote there. Recycle, reuse, repurpose. It's the way we roll. And nice, well said, especially considering it's a ball and it will roll. Of course, that's what you meant, Mike. Anyway, back to the story. Super balls, or whatever you want to call them, bouncy balls. I was having a hell of a time trying to find them. I went to all sorts of different stores trying to find them. I ended up getting this in a $2 shop. So down in Springwood, there's a place called Hot Something, not Hot Potatoes, Hot New, or I forget the name. But anyway, it's one of those stores that's got all the Halloween gear in it, and, you know, knickknacks, toys for kids. And I asked the lady down there, you got any? And she said, the balls are down that side, have a look. So I went down. There was only these squishy stress balls and tennis balls and things. Nothing to be seen, or at least I thought. So I ducked down. There was around about 15 odd containers that had different balls. And as luck had it, I found 3 of them. I bought the lot. Now, David Lucy, who has built a beautiful tongue drum, he's the guy that put me on to getting these. And he said, get a few just in case you stuff it up when you drill them. Now, to drill them, I'll go to CarlCam and we'll take it from there. So here's the Super Ball, and I'm just putting it on there on the drill press on my Stanton bench. And I'm just nipping it a little bit. I don't want to squeeze it too hard, otherwise I'll deform it this way. Variety store, that'll do us. Now, the dowels that I've got for the handles, I think, are 5/16. I could put the measuring device on it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use an 8mm drill in my drill. And I'm using a brad point drill. See that? A brad point drill bit's got a sharp point on the end. If I used an ordinary drill with designed for metal and timber, well then I'd have trouble. So holding onto it. That's it. Done. Look at that, it still bounces. Wouldn't you know? There's the hole. I haven't come through the other side. We've got a little smiley face there. And on the end of the dowel, slide her in. Hear that sound in comparison to? Much nicer. All right, next part. Next part. This might or may not be interesting. You're getting the discoveries that I've made during the week. Now, the drum itself. I'm going to tell you the story of the tragedy of the drum. This is a new top that I made. This isn't the one that I made last week. Daylight saving started 2 a.m. this morning. Sorry, Brendano. You're right. Okay, so what happened was, as I was tuning this, I was trying to protect the surface because I had to turn it upside down, just the piece of timber. And also you'll notice that I've got rid of the base. I cut it out with a jigsaw, then I put the flush cut in there and went all the way around. And I've got this beautiful piece that's showing end grain there and edge grain, whoop, there. And that was something on its own. These little things happen as we're going along. All right, so what happened was I had it upside down and I was using my chisel and mallet, tap, 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 trying to tune it. And guess what? I was on a towel and I split the board. And if you've had anything to do with these kind of things, if you split the timber or if there's any splits in it, you will get an absolute horrible sound. So first tip is, if you're going to be tuning this, which I suggest you do, you take the, don't put the bass in yet. You put it down on a hard, flat surface. So when you are chiseling, you're not going to shock it and snap it off, because it's only being held on by around about 8 millimeters across the top there. If you can see it there. All right. So to get rid of it, the old one, over the jointer. Straight over the jointer. And then I had tongues flying around all over the place, but I got there. Cleaned it up. I put the new Jarrah top on with epoxy, as I said I should. And let's flip back to here. And now I have this. And I'm still not happy with it, because I don't think Jarrah is going to be this type of timber that's going to give me the best tone. On YouTube, I've been researching as much as I can, and they say Padauk is the best timber for it. This will work, but you know, if these guys have spent years developing tongue drums and say Padauk is the best timber, well, but you know what, you may be like me as well, and you enjoy the discovery. I enjoy making mistakes, because mistakes make us better. Not overall, like if I had a car accident and kill myself, well then that's not a mistake that makes me better. There's a fine line, obviously. Anyway, so the next thing to do was to tune it. And I noticed there's also all sorts of different tongue drums out there. I did start wanting to tune it so that I had 4 chords, but I'd already cut 7 tongues on each side. The plan was to have bass on my left, treble on my right. And that was my logic, 7 notes in an octave. But I forgot there's sharps and flats. So there's more than 7. A lot of the time people will do a 6 or a 10 drum. So then I thought, well, how am I going to tune this? And what do I do? Well, I researched, and you can see I've gone through and thought, right, well, I need to write down the frequencies of each note. So I started at C, and I'm learning so many things about music because I'm not a music person. So this C here, I've written it on it. That C is C3. C4, I think, is middle C. Middle C's frequency is 261 hertz. 261.63 to be exact. So my C, this one down here, I had to get to 130.82 hertz with a drill, a chisel, and a mallet. And I got really, really close. How did I get there? Box changes the volume, but not the tune. That's an interesting thing there, Russell. Mike, I made my mum a lead opener knife. Had to be careful, it was so sharp. Right. So I've got an app. I downloaded this app, and I'll just jump in here. And let me see if I can find this app. It's called Tuner Pitched. You can see it pop up there. And as I'm talking, it'll probably bounce around and tell me what kind of hertz I'm talking at. It's a free app. Yeah. This is on an Android phone. Now, on the top here, I had double bass, and it tells you the notes on a double bass, C, E, A, D, and G. And then it'll tell you if the pitch is too high, the hertz is too high, we'll say tighten the string or loosen the string. These things are incredible. And also it's got up the corner here, note. Now I've gone down to C. See that? And that's C3. And if I push this button here, it will continue to do it. Stop it. So we have our new mallet, and let's see if I'm close. That's my C. Play it again. Now sometimes when I'm doing it, I'm starting to think, is it the note? For someone with a really well-trained ear, they'll say straight away, yes, no, sharp, flat, way off, whatever. So what I can do is I go back to where it says on the double bass section here, and I lift it up. Thanks, Stephen. And I put it down on the bench, and I put this over the top of it. And then I'm going to tap it, and I'm going to look down through there. 130.5. Now the thing is, if I talk or make a noise after I've done it, I can't pick it up and show you. So I'm going to stay very quiet after I do it. See what happens. It heard all of that. It heard me putting it down. Even standing up. Let me see, if I go to Carlcam, that might work. Now you can see, there's the phone. So G, let's go for it. Or C, I should say. 130.2, 129.1, 130.1, 130.3, 129.6, 130.3. I'm about half a hertz away. Let me go back to this one. That is so close. Now, then I was going, all right, what do I do? What do I do? Do I set this up? I'll turn it around this way so you guys can see it. Do I set it up so that I've got C, D, E, F, G, or do I include the sharps? And I thought, well, I think I've got to include the sharps. So there's C, C sharp, D. Now, why didn't I go to any of these ones down here to go C, C sharp, D? Don't worry, I tried. But trying to tune this little guy here to a D, a D3, this is a little bit of a music lesson for you as well. The next octave up would have been D4, and above that is D5. So that's all of the octaves. This is pretty amazing. I love it. Okay, so C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. Forget that. I tried to make it F, but it just didn't want to join the party. And then that took me 4 hours. It is a painful process. And the other thing is, when you think you're close, or you think you might be a long way away, you start removing material from where I'm going to show you in a second how to do it. And if you remove too much from one end of the tongue, say I remove it from this end of the tongue, because it's a tongue drum, this lowers the tone, lowers the pitch, I should say, drops the hertz. Taking it from this end lifts the hertz. Your midpoint, nothing much. Most of the work is right at the end. And again, to lift, most of the work is right at the end there. The closer you get to the midpoint, the amount of material you remove, say I take that much, say I take a CC out of there, or I take a CC near the midpoint, this has very little change. This has a major change. Can I have a quick read? Wayne, the power just went out. Russell, tune it for a particular key. If you want to change key, build another one to get a fully chromatic one. It would be the size of a piano. Will the pitch change over time with temp and humidity? Mike, I have no idea. As I say, this is a learning experience for me. I'm sharing my mistakes and my wins from what happened during the week. there is a guy on the web who is an absolute champion at this stuff, and he has created a drum with 6 tongues per side, and he has 3 notes per corner. And those 3 notes are a chord. So he has 4 chords, so he can just hit it, bang, 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 bang. And he has 4 different chords. Now, what I did then, because I obsess, I thought, you know what? I need to write down what is in a chord and what it's called. So C major has C, E, and G. And on and on. Now, A minor, I think, was one of the chords. I think he had C, E, G, and A minor. I think they were the 4 chords that he tuned his tongue drum to. And it was glorious, absolute pleasure to listen to. The other thing is, when you're watching things on telly or whatever you're doing, have a listen. Have a listen for the tones in some of the music that's being played in the background. And I'm amazed at how many of the backing music has a tongue drum in it. I'm positive it's a tongue drum sound. So David's popped in there, and he's, as I say, he's one of the guys that's helped me out a big time on this. So I'm going to move a few things off the bench because I don't want everything else resonating. And you can have a listen, have a bit of a listen to it. Put the coffee down. I'm getting everything off here. Because I haven't got the rubber feet for it yet, I've got these small rubber stick-on things, and they're not enough. They're not enough. A minor is the complement of C. It is the 6th chord. Okay, there you go. You people that are musically inclined, and Derek plays the old harmonica, he will know all of this and have fun. Bass chords in the key of C are C, G, 7, and F. I love it. I love it. So these are the actual notes for a chord. So for C major, it was C, E, and G were the 3 notes for the chord. And how do I know that? Well, I research. Let's have a listen. Move this off. All right. So C, start here. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. And I've got one over here, B, because it was close to it. I haven't done any more because that short little area there took me, let's say, 4 hours. All right. Inside, have a look in there. You can see that there's a couple of things. On my bass side, over here, I've also glued in another chunk of jarrah that's pushed hard up against the soundboard, but away from the note. So it's around about, well, you can see the holes along the end, and you see where the note finishes, where the tongue finishes. On the other end, my treble end, I haven't done anything there to it yet, but I might. Also, on my bass end, before I put the soundboard in, I've got my 6mm flat top blade on the saw, and I cut a trench, possibly 12mm wide. So immediately, I dropped all of these tongues down this side. I dropped the pitch straight away. I left that side alone. I thought, I'll give myself a head start. And it worked quite well. Do you want to have a little listen to it, just being silly? And also with these, you can get them to bounce. So I can... And that sounds crap, of course, but it's fun. It really is fun. It's an exploration. If I turn it round this way, then I can read it. And I don't read music anyway, but there's vibration happening everywhere around here, and that's all going to disappear once I put the You can do awesome. The other thing the guy was saying that when I was doing a bit of research was, it really makes no difference what this timber is around here. I noticed a lot of people do it out of 3/4 inch thick birch plywood. It's the top, and it's Padauk is the one to go for. Now, in my beautiful timber rack that I've built over here, I can now find wood straight away. So this is Padauk. You might remember I used this on my plane, when I built the plane. This isn't wide enough for what I want to make. So I'm going to cut it in half, join it, and I'll use the tie bond one, I think, because I know a lot of guys use that stuff for musical instruments, or pearl glue, hide glue, whatever. But I'll join it, and I'm going to make another one. And as per, I think it was Russell said, don't destroy this one. Leave it. Why not? It's fun. And I might make some plywood boxes up. They're fun. And make a top with Padauk after I do some more research. What I'd like to do is get a hold of a tongue drum that has been perfectly tuned and inspected. Because now that I've done all my exploration work, I'd like to see how it's done professionally. I notice that a lot of people don't try and don't try this at home after a heavy night out. Okay, good. I notice a lot of people will give you videos on how to do things up to a certain stage as far as these things are concerned. And one person was using a Dremel to clean out and just slowly tune one of the tongues. But I tried that with my little one that I've got, and it wasn't very successful. So I was using the drill with a brad point drill bit in it, and just slowly going down. Wonder if mic inside the drum would sound better for everyone to listen. All right, let's do that. Let's do that. It might sound worse, you never can tell. Let's lift this off. I have the other microphone here. If I slide that up enough, and I think I better put it on something soft so it doesn't have the thing bouncing around all over the place. What have I got? Maybe some paper towel. There's the microphone down there. I can't move around too much. Come on. I'm getting vibration. I don't know why. Slide that back a bit. Bouncing on something down there. It will make a difference when it's finished. See, at the moment, I'm just letting you know what's happened as we're going along. That's the best drum solo you've heard today. Is that better than Harry Nilsson's Jump Into the Fire? That was pretty amazing. Now I've got to try and get this back in again. Okay, Dave, you're starting my itch again to make some more tongue drums. It's one of those things that, you know, I'm like a terrier with a bloody bone. I can't put things down. Now ignoring the vibration. Okay. So it'll sound lovely, but as I said, that's my first experiment. book me into the opera house. Thanks, Brian. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. So that's what I thought you might be interested in all of that stuff. Grandkids want to play with the puppy's drum. 11:45. We're still going well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some more of those cutters out. I don't think there's anything more to talk about on the drum. Unless, of course, we'll tune another note. Might do that. I might do that. I'm going to move a bit of this out of the way. As I say, the big thing is to make sure that your surface is nice and flat while you're doing the tuning. Because if you split the soundboard, the whole thing's stuffed. All right. The other thing is, I wrote the notes with a texter or indelible mark or whatever you want to call it. On the top, because I'm practicing. And then I also wrote the notes on the tongues inside. Because no matter how good you are, every time you do this, you're going to disorientate yourself. All right. So we've got up to F. Should I go to F sharp? Now, have I got... I continued my search for the frequencies, or for the hertz as well, with the sharps. So F sharp, which is G flat, is 185 hertz. Let's see if I've got anything there that's close to 185 hertz. I cheat. I use this and I go around and I have a listen and watch this at the same time. You guys might be able to see it from above if I get the mouse back. Go to Carl Camp and you'll see there's the drum. This is what's going to tell me how many hertz it is. So C is it's saying 128.2 now, and it should be 130.82. I wonder if it's because I'm in an air-conditioned room. 136.6 for C sharp. I'm 2 hertz under. Last night, this was perfect. It's got to stay constant, so I have to remember that, I think. D should be 146.83. So that's dropped. It's dropped by 2 to 3 hertz. D sharp should be 155.56, and it's over here. Getting vibration. That's 157.9, 158, 156.7. It's, mucking around a little bit. Then I've got E, should be 164.8. That's E here. $161.8. It's all 2 to 3 hertz below. E sharp, sorry, there is no E sharp, there's an F, and F should be 174.61. Well, it's not, that's way down. I'm going to try putting it in underneath and see how that goes. Ooh, that's way down. It's gone out of tune unbelievably. All right, try it on the grey bench. Yes, I could do that because that's where it was done last night. Good idea, Peter. Now, there's a lot of things on that bench that may vibrate, which I had nothing on it last night while I was doing it. Bring it back. It does need a bottom on it, but you can tune it. I think the bottom, all it does is help to give it better tone. Okay, let's have a listen. That sounds a bit better. Let's get this guy back again. So F. $161.9. And F should be 174.6. Man, oh man, this needs a lot of work. See, this is why you pay the money for these things. If someone's tuned it, that's bullock. It's got its own special key. I see the starter holes are bigger on the right side. Correct. This is my the whole plan for that was to have a thinner area there supporting the tongue. Have a smaller area over here, a larger area supporting the tongue there. That was my plan. I was thinking, oh, well, that will give me a better base, but no, it's working the other way around. This. And this is where thinking about going to, $750, $800. They're not cheap. So if you can make one and it works, well, you're a better man than me or a better person than me. Let's put the microphone back under it again and you can have a listen when I get that out. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set the other mic up and see how that goes. Yeah, getting back to your comment about the starter holes being bigger, a lot of them don't have starter holes. They just do their starter holes in the middle here, and then they cut straight to the side. I am going to have a bit of a practice trying to make one with the with CNC and see if that does anything of advantage. I'm going to give this one a quick test. Yep, that works. And this, put that on there. All right, here we go. Vibration. And then there's a high pitch. I think it's rocking. Okay, here we go. A recital. And then doubles. It's bouncing. It's vibrating on something under there big time. This way, it's incredible, isn't it? What to do? Maybe if I put a towel under it, anything. This might be boring as, but some people might think this is whetting my appetite to want to do something like this. Now I've got a towel there, and this over the top. Maybe that will get rid of the vibration. Let's have a look. Isn't that nicer? Oh dear, that's a bit of fun. Now, isn't that nice? We can hear the drum, but not Dave. Audio has gone distorted. Can you hear me at all or not? Test 1, 2. Okay, here we go. I'm going to turn it down a little. I'll turn it down so you can hear it better. I'll turn this up now. Up to there. We'll disconnect this one. Turned off. Beautiful. That's fun. It's just some fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's a learning experience for me. Dear, it's a learning experience. But a couple of things that I've learnt is the hertz for different notes. That there are, on this particular app, there's 5 different octaves. It will play a tune on that particular app. Have some fun. Do one yourself without listening to anyone else talk about it, and do the learning experience as you're going. And make the mistakes. Have some fun, and then when you're serious about it, go in there. There's too many people want to do it right the first time. They're scared of making a mistake. Don't be like that. Thank you, Carl. I bet you my neighbours are pleased about that. Jungle Dave wants photos of projects. He sent message via Jungle Drum. That's exactly right. Send your projects into me and I'll throw them up like we had a look at Cole's stuff. The show, we had the thickness plane up. Always good to maintain machinery that you've got, not just your car, the machines in your shed. And this, be careful if you make one of these, it's addictive. You're not going to be able to put the rotten thing down. When I was tuning it, I drill a hole in the particular tongue, and then I used a Stanley knife in between the tongues to clear out anything that's dropped down in between them, because you can't have anything touching and fouling the note to the next one. What else? What else did I learn on it? It will be better when I've got proper rubber feet on it and I've got a soundboard in the bottom, the baseboard, so that it's bouncing the sound back up again. Remember the other part of the show I said it's important that you do that. Also, Dave Lucy showed me a picture of his one that he did, and he had the baseboard here and there was a section across the top that was open, much like an organ pipe. So Dave Monet will be able to tell you about that, because he enjoys tuning organs for different churches around the States with his brother. So, I don't know. Am I the only crazy person out there? I am going to try doing it with Paducah and make a plywood base for it. The box using the Gifkins jig was an absolute pleasure. You saw me stumble my way through using Cole's jig there, and you saw at the end how easy it was. It was just a joy to use. I did get criticism from different people saying that the joint was too tight. It worked well. You can see that is a beautiful dovetail. I think I've got a link in the description box down below as well for Cole's site. You won't be able to put it down. I'm going to keep this up on the desk when I've finished in the office. Instead of a stress ball, I'll play the drums. All right, I think that's it. I'm going to quickly read through. Thanks again to all my patrons. And don't forget that if you are one of my patrons, we're having the Zoom meeting in about 3 or 4 minutes. I'll grab myself another coffee. And we have a chat for about half an hour. And if you want to be part of that, follow the link in the description box down the bottom. And I would take it from there. All right, down to this part here. Intro and text. Look after yourselves. Be nice to each other. Don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button if you like what I'm doing. And I shall see you next week. Bye.